Yeah. Yeah, I would say we are trying like to cope with the things, because Apple usually like takes a lot of time to create stuff like something like this, and they created a whole new world, I would say. For the design stuff, it is quite exciting, yeah, because we have a lot of not new things to learn.
Yeah, and this is so funny, but we are actually live right now. And hello, everyone. As you may be able to tell, we just couldn't wait, and we may or may not have already started to discuss. I just want to check if everyone can hear me all right in the chat. If you can hear us, give us a thumbs up, say hi. I'm just gonna check on our side that the sound is working as well. Yes, good morning to those who are in time zones where it is morning, and good evening to those who are in the same time zone as me. Let's see. I'm also, hello, thank you, Dylan, for responding. I'm glad y'all can hear us. Oh, wow. Hello. All right. Well, I guess we can actually just go ahead and get started. So hello, everyone, again, and welcome to the second event of Dora Expo, dubbed Web Design in the AI Era. And greetings again. I'm Isa, your host for Dora Expo, and I'm so excited to welcome this incredible lineup today to explore the future of how we experience and interact with the web. So for those who weren't here yesterday, I guess I'll just introduce myself. I'm the head of community at Dora, the no-code 3D website builder that brought you Dora AI. And that is our text-to-website AI tool that has a specialty in creating 3D animated websites. And so, as such, I'm especially invested in this conversation today, as we'll be talking about how the way we both build and consume digital experiences and how that's about to change, especially as we at Dora ourselves are considering the future direction of spatial design and the use of 3D and mixed reality for creating immersive web experiences. I'm especially excited to find out how spatial design is about to evolve and how we can succeed in crafting immersive and interactive web experiences. So without further ado, let's welcome our lovely panelists and get to know them a bit better. And while we introduce, we'd love for you to just maybe share a unique experience or project you've been involved in that incorporated interactive 3D, and maybe a little bit about your motivation. You know, why did you choose this field? And why are you here working with 3D web experiences? So why don't we start the introductions with Sofia? You may know her as the incredible independent art and creative director for immersive web, digital branding, and immersive tech. And you may have seen her work at esteemed studios like Unit 9. And overall, just a wonderful person to talk to and such a wonderful presence at Dora Expo. So yeah, Sofia, take it away.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, Isha. Very happy to be here. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I am Sofia. As Isa said, I am an independent immersive web and digital branding art director, art and creative director. A little bit about my story, because I feel that it's relevant with what we are going to discuss today. I didn't start as a web designer. I started as a graphic designer long ago. I started working in advertising. I worked in advertising for 7 years as a graphic designer and art director. But then in the middle of the Greek crisis, when I had to make the choice on whether to stay here or to leave and pursue my dream of working with international agencies, I decided to stay. But at the same time, I decided to leave my job in advertising and leave print once and for all. Just as soon as, at the last agency that I was working with, just before I left, I have designed my first website. And as soon as I saw my still design come to life with animations and interactions, and I understood that this would be a product that people would interact with every day, it was my first aha moment. I said, this is what I want to do. So I went freelance, pursuing my international dreams. And at the same time, I started working with a Drupal agency. The developers in the company just, understand that I started from the tough, but they taught me really well on how to understand the technology and to be really creative with it. You really need to understand your tools in order to be creative with them. So for 3 years, I was working just specifically on websites. And then this project came that gave me the opportunity to put all of my skills into one project. It was a personal branding for the amazing Lang, a dear friend now. So I took her from start. I created the brand concept, the visual identity, how it expands at all her digital platforms, and of course, the website. Now, the website is the core of every digital branding project because it is where the brand storytelling happens. It is where all the brand elements live. So this was the process that I loved the most. I did that for another 7 years. And then at 2018, I visited Kik Festival in Belgium. Highly recommended. It's a technology and art festival. And it was the first time that I was introduced into VR and AR. It had this tech market outside the festival, startups showcasing their products. It had these immersive installations all around the city. And it was my second aha moment. I said, I don't know how, I don't know why I'm going to get into this industry. Maybe I will bring this industry into what I do, or I will bring what I do into this industry. So for the last 5 years, I have been trying to self-educate, and I was blown away from this immersive world. I've been trying to self-educate. And, when you put something out there, it's like the universe is working towards bringing what you want to you. So last year, after COVID, I had the amazing opportunity to work with incredible agencies, Superhero Cheesecake, Territory Studio. I worked with a huge conglomerate in Dubai for a year. And then my latest commitment was with the amazing Unit 9. I mean, if you want to step your foot in the door, what a better way to do it, right? So lately, I decided to get back to freelancing. So I'm back to freelancing. I'm very excited. I'm taking all the knowledge from all these experiences, and I'm really willing to just continue my journey in the immersive space because I do believe that this is the future of the web. I'm kind of preaching for it for the last year, and I'm very excited with all the advancements that we're going to discuss. So I took a lot of the time, so I'm not going to go into details about my favorite project, but this kind of describes on why I am into this space and why I'm so excited about it.
Thank you so much. And I'm so glad to hear about this. And thank you for consideration of the time as well. But in that case, maybe we can move on to, he is the founder of a multidisciplinary design studio, Immersive Studios. And we're here spearheading projects ranging from 3D websites, real-time experiences, and the metaverse. Julius, would you like to introduce yourself next?
For sure. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Julius Brunning. I'm from Germany, more in specific from southern Germany in the state of Baden-Württemberg. And I think I'll try to keep myself a little bit shorter. I started out as a designer in the field. I did taught myself. I learned also at other studios at companies and started out with interface and product design. That's what I loved because I loved imagining software products and their experiences as well as branding. So I started out in that field. During my experience, both in freelancing as together working with and in other companies, I then felt that it might be best for me to approach the entrepreneurial way. And that's where I landed right now here with Immersive Studios. And what I'm currently building is a team, as you already said, that focuses on multidisciplinary creative experiences. So everything we're just talking about is exactly what we're doing. We're trying to build 3D websites using and leveraging technologies such as 3GS, React Free Fiber, and even Babylon.js to create not only immersive websites, but configurators, metaverse experiences, and more immersive things in the industry, with a huge focus on visual aestheticness. So that's what we're trying to do.
Great. Thank you so much. And it's great to hear sort of your journey here as well. Speaking of immersive studios though, right? Up next is actually the CIO as well as the CTO of Neotix. I kind of consider him our resident Three.js expert and just an amazing creative developer all over. But Anderson, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Yeah, thank you and welcome everybody. And I'm really glad to be invited to this selected group because we are doing the things we love, I would say, and being with other people that also love this kind of thing. Like we are trying to push forward this kind of technology usage. And a little bit about myself, I would say I'm kind of old. I look like younger usually, but I'm kind of old. Like I'm doing this for about 20, 21, 22 years. I'm 42 years old and I started in like my 80s, like my 18 years. And yeah, I feel I've been doing this all my life, but only recently I decided to jump into this 3JS and 3D world technology because I always loved 3D. My background it is from design. I usually say that I'm a developer trapped in a designer body because I love design. I love doing design, but like development, it is in my blood. I need to code. And I usually developed projects using Macromedia Flash, which eventually died over time. And then I became dormant because I never practiced again coding until recently. I decided I would learn 3JS myself because I was trying to hire someone to my company, Artiukh at the time. And I could not find anybody. Like everyone that I talked to said to me, I'm too busy. Man, this is too hard. Like I can't join your company right now. And I said, you know what? I will try to learn that. And then I became absolutely passionate about the 3D design because 3D is also something that I've been always studying, but I always felt like it is too much work to do for 3D stuff to be only images and videos. And then when I saw what 3JS and Babylon and all those technologies were capable of, I said, I'm in love. So I've been doing this for about 3-4 years now, but in a very deep way. Like I kind of left my company for some time, and then I became fully immersed in 3JS every single day for about 4 years. And I became this specialist. And yeah, like it is amazing. This is a little bit about my story. And some of my projects actually are in the 3JS homepage, 4 of them, which I'm very thankful because this is like an Oscar to me. Like if it has an Oscar of the internet for myself, being a 3JS homepage is a great success for me. And yeah, I'm really glad. And let me tell you, like some of the people that are here, like I admire so much, and I've been seeing like all the content you guys create together. So especially Yuri, I feel like I live inside his house because I watch his videos like every single day. Every time I remember something and I remember, I think Yuri already solved that. And then I go for his channel. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it's so refreshing, to hear like how a lot of us might be considered relatively new to, what we're working on right now, like Sofia mentioned, only being introduced to VR in 2018. That's still, that's 3 years before Metaverse was really officially introduced, right? So this is great. And I love that you mentioned Yuri's YouTube channel, because now that we're on that topic, there is no better person to introduce next than this creative developer. You may know him as Akela on Twitter, or you just see him streaming, I believe on Sundays on YouTube. So everyone, please welcome Yuri.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction and thanks for the kind words, Anderson. It's really touching always to hear that somebody's watching the stream. So I'll try to keep it kind of short because I think we're using too much time. But anyway, so I'm actually doing front end for like 20 years as well. I also look quite young to my age. I'm not as old as Anderson though, a little bit younger, but still. So, and at some point I had a major life crisis, and at that point, everything in Canvas or 3D seemed impossible to me. It was like, what? This is some kind of magic. So when I had this major life crisis or something like that, I decided that I should go into the impossible things, and I tried to learn it myself and decode it myself. And this is how I started streaming in the first place, trying to decode something impossible. And it still keeps me passionate. And right now I'm just mostly creating content, and also have my front end company, which lives by itself without my major interactions from my side. And you've mentioned that we need to talk about some projects that we built, that we kind of cool projects in the 3D or metaverse. And I think I would like to mention two projects that I worked, that I kind of felt that the 3D falls into the like it falls into the place where it should be used. The first one was for the medical, for the doctors. We needed to create the interactive scenes to teach doctors how to use some medical equipment, and some really specific medical equipment, like working with the heart, or making the heart, some operations on the heart, stuff like that, some really specific cases. And it was really nice to teach them on the interactive demos in the VR, so they could just look at from different sides at the same operation and learn how to do it properly. And the second one, which I was really passionate about as well, as I worked on one of the startups, and we worked on creating the codec to transfer to stream 3D content, basically. So if you're holding a concert or the fashion event, something like that, there needs to be some 3D format to transfer this, the same as the video, but in 3D. So you could basically stream something to the VR or AR to some other person's room, and they can watch from different angles into the concert or the fashion event and stuff like that. My role was strictly technical there. I was working on the specific file format to transfer this data through the internet, but it really was, I mean, it's so cool that you could do that right now, and that you could just watch something in 3D on the other side of the planet live. So yeah, this is the project I wanted to mention. And it's also nice to be in such a cool company, and thank you for reminding me. So I'm gonna transfer the microphone to the next one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yuri. And yeah, that means last but definitely not least, we have our, you may have seen her at Speak at Awards. She's tackling interactive and 3D art at places like Immersive Garden. Just an amazing, like I'm such a big fan of your works. Anais, I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. So yes, I'm Anais Iris. I'm French. I'm art director. I do web design and 3D art as well. So I was working at Immersive Garden, where I was working on UI and 3D, where I learned so many things about storytelling, interaction. That was like a wonderful experience. And since I'm freelancing and I work like on the whole process, concept, UI, 3D, and I really love the diversity of that. And I've always been someone really creative. At some point, I wanted to be a photographer. At some point, I wanted to be illustrator. And for me, 3D was kind of the perfect mix, because you have your camera, you have your composition, you have to create something from scratch. And for me, that was something out of reach. I thought that was really difficult to learn, but YouTube was my friend, and I learned and kind of learned it by myself. And yeah, I fell in love with like the creativity and how you can like turn around. Like yeah, there is so many possibility of creating stuff. And when I discovered that you can mix 3D and web, that was like, that was really amazing, because there is the fact that you can interact with it and make content that make really sense. And Immersive Garden was the best place to learn how to mix both, because I studied mostly web design at Gobelin School in Paris, but like there was also a lot of storytelling concepts and stuff like that. And yeah, now I'm freelancing, and yeah, I love this field, and I'm still really in love with my job. I'm really thankful that I discovered it really young.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad to have you here as well. And I guess, throughout, I've been hearing a lot about how we're talking about why we're working, what is particularly exciting about 3D web experiences and working with that. And so actually, I think I might start off our conversation by asking sort of what applications or functions of 3D do you see holding particular value or excitement or promise? But of course, I'm going to balance that out by also allowing you to talk about sort of what limitations currently exist in that area. So yeah, I'll open up the floor to y'all.
Yeah, who wants to start?
Well, I just mentioned that we used it for educating the doctors, and that was actually the most, I would say, I mean, all the applications are important, but that seemed like the most appropriate and the most important thing that I ever done in 3D, because I felt like it was so important. I was so afraid to confuse some 3D objects in there, because it is literally the surgery on the heart. And it's like, it blows your mind how important the things are that you're working. Because sometimes it's just, some spheres bouncing in some abstract space, but then it's like the real human heart. And there's like the millimeters I counted for where you place the objects and stuff like that. So yeah. For me, that was that moment, I guess, for educating the doctors. But maybe for others, it was something else.
Yeah, like I had this experience with the theater, and I think that is also another thing that probably will like be the future. I would say, like I don't see my nephew, like 6-year-old, using mouse and keyboard and like a mobile device to navigate or to search, for example, for a place to sit in a theater. And then I created that experience in 3D using 3GS at the time, that you can actually see and choose your place in a theater, like in a real experience. So you can actually sit in your desired location, and using spatial audio, you can listen to the music from that location prior to being in that place. And then you can experiment before buying it. I think it is a great like usage for 3D on the web. And mostly because we are using browsers, but imagine using spatial like design. This is made for it, I would say, because you can actually sit in like VR experience. So yeah, it is another great usage for 3D on the web.
For me, I think that was during COVID. I worked with Jam 3 on Complex Sound, which is a festival that was live before the pandemic. And the fact that we were able to work on a festival like digitally that was live before, where people could actually walk in and go to shop and see concert, for me that was really amazing, because we were like all distance, like at home, and creating a world where people could meet and interact kind of in the same way that they could physically was really amazing. And that was so creative to conceptualize a world that it's not realistic, but like we had a lot of fun with creating different areas and something that will not have been done physically because that was really, really creative, or maybe it could have been done. But so we're creating space where people could interact and meet, I think is a great use of 3D. And also, I think project for me, it's a great area to work on with 3D. And I think it's something that's going to be developing more and more, to be able to see a project physically, but like not physically, but like being able to turn around it, zoom in closely, see in different details, even like customizing it. For example, if you want like a customized pair of shoes or something like that, and you had the colors and like, okay, but how does it look like if I turn it around, stuff like that. I think it makes a lot of value for brands to work on 3D projects to make it really a unique experience for the buyer.
Yeah, I love how we're touching on sort of like inherently touching on the benefits of, I guess, wherever 3D can surpass beyond 2D and beyond just aesthetic applications, right? It's very interesting to see these really functional actually applications, right? We're touching on education, we're talking about like actually interacting with products. And I think we're already starting to hint at sort of the sort of evolution of how we're actually interacting with our interfaces or web browsers. Because as Anderson, you also mentioned, you're not really envisioning your kids using a mouse cursor anymore. So I guess I'm wondering, how does everyone see the interaction between, you know, ourselves with web browsers or interfaces and correspondingly the designs evolving? How is that about to change? And of course, in consideration with recent developments in mixed reality, we can definitely expand on that as well.
I think that Apple already did a great job at that by, well, introducing the Vision Pro. They introduced not only, I think, new, but optimized ways in which you can make other use than just a keyboard or a mouse, which would be the tracking of your eyes to navigate through experiences, to select UI on a board, and then simply snap your fingers together to introduce a click to the scene. That is, I think, something that we will see more of in the future, and is also reasonable and accessible for other people with the right technology behind it. So we only need some cameras behind it for people to have it working, and they can have it either on their desktop, they can have it on their mobile phones, and this is going to work quite well. I think that's one opportunity.
Well, absolutely. I have to agree with Julius 100%. Just wanted to say that after COVID, we've seen an explosion on 3D on the browser as we are seeing it now, and it's going to get more and more. It's going to become the normal in the Web 2 world as we know it. And as you said, guys, it might have like an aesthetic use, which is not bad. I mean, we need aesthetics, and aesthetics have a way more value than just something superficially beautiful. I'm preparing a speech on that because it's a very sensitive topic and speaks really close to my heart. But other than that, it has the engagement factor, as Anais mentioned. The more time that you spend with a brand element, the more connected you get to the brand. And when it serves a purpose and it has meaning, the connection is even stronger when it stops being just decorational and it has some kind of meaning connected to your brand. And then it's the educational factor. As Yuri mentioned, I've worked myself in a medical related topic, and we had this 3D model that kind of led the narrative. So as you scrolled, the body would come closer, you're seeing what was going on, and it had this interactive element to it. That was one of my most proud works. But then we're going into this new spatial or immersive or metaverse. I'm not going to be using this word because it has taken a negative connotation, but we're all speaking about the same thing. And it's the evolution, it's the inevitable evolution of the internet, and it's the inevitable evolution of all our industry as designers, as developers. This is where visual communication is going, and I'm very excited about it because 3D stops being an object, and it's the space around you. So going beyond 2D, I mean, it's a tool, right? It's a tool. Just like for us visual designers, color is a tool, typography is a tool, motion is a tool, imagery is a tool, and 3D imagery is part of branding and visual communication. Now the space becomes a tool as well. And what happened with Apple, I mean, we've been having these conversations about the evolution of the web for 2 years now. And I feel for Meta because I've worked with Meta a little bit at Unit 9, and I have a completely different appreciation and respect for what they're doing. They have been building, they have been investing. The dedication and perseverance that they're showing is really remarkable to build a whole ecosystem of platforms and tools that are building this world. A whole different respect, and the only thing they're getting back is hate, and I really hate that. I'm not being paid by Meta, I have to make that clear, but I have a lot of respect for them. And then, Mark has been talking about these things for a couple of years, and then April comes and everyone is like, wow, yeah, like this is the future. So what are they doing different? One thing that I think is a huge game changer is what Julius mentioned. I am a Quest user, and the fact that I have to use the controllers and click, and I have to aim and click constantly, and especially when I have to use the keyboard, when I have to aim to the keys, and it's really frustrating. So the moment that I saw that, oh my God, you interact with your eyes. I mean, you are looking at a button and you see a magical mouse over reaction, and then you just tap your fingers, and it's like that. And the keyboard is in front of you, and you're just typing in the air. I mean, this makes it feel very intuitive, and this makes it feel like a natural evolution from the real world to the digital one. That's one thing. The second thing is what Apple has done great is how they didn't enter the market, they kind of creating it, how they put at the front like this virtual experience as the extension of your mobile phone. So it is presented to you as a product that you're able to use, and you're so familiar with it. It's all the apps that you're using on a daily basis. So it feels again like a natural evolution. Whereas what Meta does is a virtual world, more focused on the social interaction. So it's completely, I see those two companies and those two different headsets going these different ways, and it makes sense for them as brands, right? But what I want to say is that everyone can relate to seeing the extension of their phone around them, but not everyone can relate to going into a completely virtual place and interact with people in VR. I like it, but not many people like it. So that's why I think this the Vision Pro launch, it's a huge step towards this reality. But of course, I mean, the price, the fact that it's still huge, the fact that it's overly expensive, it's not there yet. But this is a huge step towards, everyone managing to see themselves in it. That's why I'm so excited with this launch.
You can also add that I saw the old interview by Steve Jobs where he described this analogy between the headphones, like the headphones replaced the professional audio systems, and now the same way happening for the visual systems. Like instead of having the big plasma, you could just have it like around you, this plasma basically, just the same way you had the headphones replaced the professional audio systems, these glasses or whatever it is will replace the visual systems for us now, the visual interactions. And it really got me with this analogy.
Yeah, I just want also to add, like, being an Italian-like guy, because I'm like, my roots are from Italia. I talk with hands, as you can see. Like, it is impossible for me to interact with people without my hands. And that's why I think this kind of Quest technology, like, and I tried for like quite some time. First, I'm kind of old, so I get dizzy when I use that immersive without seeing my surroundings. And also not being able to use my hand and pointing to keyboards, that is definitely not like the vision of the future. But again, I totally agree what you said, Sofia, about like it needs to evolve also because it is a different kind of project. So everybody kinds of see as the same. But I agree with you. It is a total new category of product, like interaction with eye and finger tapping releases the human nature to be as they were designed by God to be, in a sense of that we can use our hands to talk finally. And also can see the future for audio, like.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think as a creator with 3D and having like a 2D screen, it's really limiting because you take your mouse and you press a button to be able to turn around, to create, and you have like to really like turn around with the mouse to see what you're doing. But like being able to move and to visually see what's outside, physically, I think it's gonna unlock a lot of creativity. Because you're not stuck with just the 2D screen and you are able to feel what you're creating. It's like dancing, you're like feeling the movement and you're going to be able to feel it in the creation of 3D. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally feeling this sentiment too, that with these releases, especially with the new mixed reality technology, it might feel like it's really more up to like early adopters and like it's sort of a series 0, right? Not necessarily accessible to everyone at the moment, but I think it's undeniable that it is going to majorly change how we might have to approach not just web experiences, just let's say digital experiences, right? And I guess this kind of begs the question of, well, in response to this, how are we preparing for this emergence of spatial web design, right? Should we start to consider building more native mixed reality experiences or tools? And how are we able to, translate what our skill set right now, right? Because right now we're all active in the industry. We have our own skill sets, but how can we build on that to consider for like the upcoming changes? I'm sorry, that was a lot of questions at once.
Well, from my technical perspective, I'd say that for the past couple of years, there was really a lot of development in 3D part of the JavaScript, like the 3JS and React Free Fiber, and there's really a lot of like environments. This Spline tool is a really awesome tool to just create basically 3D experiences that could be served in the mixed reality as well. So there's been like huge amount of tools lately, and I think this all comes to the point where the Vision Pro release and then all the tools release, and then hopefully it would just be something new happening in our lives, like the new kind of media and interactions.
Yeah, totally. I would say that I'm seeing this a lot of new tools being launched, and they are making like our life easier. It's because when I started like my channel because I was trying to learn, and it was hard for me because I'm a designer who can code, so I'm not that experienced in development, for example, as Yuri is. And I was struggling with some stuff. And actually, I knew you guys, Dora, because I found you using your tool to recreate a project that I did for a scrollable experience. And I was like so excited because you can actually do things in a so much easier and quicker way. And I think this will be the future, like new tools like Dora, like Spline, and 3JS and React Free Fiber, they are evolving in a point that we will be using them, as Anais mentioned, and in a natural way. So we will use the application and develop it in the same space as the user will be using that, because we will not attach to a screen anymore. We are surrounded by the design and the technology that we are creating. But imagining how this will be used in a everyday, it is still like a secret, I would say, to every company, to every brand that are trying to acquire this new technology knowledge and how to use them to make the connection with the audience. Because in the end, this is all that matters. If the audience is using this kind of stuff, brands are forced to use that, like they are today forced to use 3D on the app to get the attention from the user.
I just have a message for everyone out there. If you're having panic attacks every 2 weeks, like, it's absolutely natural. I have a great therapist. I can share her info for everyone. Like, it's happening to all of us. We are on the same boat. Every 2 weeks, things are changing. Like in the last 6 months, you can't believe what's happening. So as I said, I've started looking into this space since 2018. The metaverse wasn't yet communicated. It was like about 2020. And when I got back from a Kick conference, there was this processing seminar in my town, processing, like code. It's code for generative art. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it because I think that it has something to do with what I saw there. I did it because I didn't know where to start. Like, how do I get into this industry as a designer, as a creative director, as an art director? What kind of skills can I instantly put in use? So I did the processing seminar and I found out that I can't code. Like, we got that out of the way. My brain does not think math. It's impossible, but I understood how this thing works. So I understood how I can think about it when I come up with a concept or when I'm going to direct something. I did the same with Houdini, no way, with Touch Designer. Like, I tried a lot of different tools with Spark AR, a lot of different tools, trying to see more or less where I want to focus, because it's so much. And I know it's frustrating, but you have to get started. Like, once you get started, it becomes real. Believe me, it is frustrating at start, but you will find your way through it. And this will give you an understanding of what your role can be. How can you be of service and what value you can bring to this space? So one more thing is that, back in my day, we didn't have the luxury of learning online. I mean, Facebook didn't exist. I was in the middle of design school, and it just, MySpace has launched. So it's, on one hand, I feel very lucky that I had this analog kind of education, and that I had to go physically and search for whatever I was looking for. But the opportunity that we have now of learning, it's incomprehensible. Like it's another thing that you wouldn't be able to believe if you told me 5 years back that you had all this knowledge of all these tools. And furthermore, that you're able to choose the professional that teaches you. I mean, this is huge. We had one teacher in the university, whether you liked it or not, like that was it. Now you can choose to follow people that inspire you, because, this is more likely the work that you kind of want to do, and learn from them. So take advantage of everything that COVID has brought. A lot of negatives, but has brought a lot of opportunities as well. Just take advantage of what's happening in the internet and just get started. That's my advice.
Yeah, that's a beautiful message. Yeah, I think it's really overwhelming that everything is getting so fast, like AI and everything. We're like, oh my God, we're gonna lose our job. Like robots are going to do it instead of us. And I think it's a time to take the opportunity also to take that as a game, to be able to beat the the AI and not just use it as a tool. And I think there's going to be new software and new tools, and I think it's scary and exciting at the same time, because if you're lazy and you want to stay in your comfort zone, obviously it's scary. But I think in this industry we have to be always really exciting and curious about everything that it's new, and really take that as a game to learn new stuff. And even if it's a software that it's not gonna last, at least you try something. Like if you try a new game, and just take that as a game instead of taking it as something that you have to do. Because if you do it because you have to, you're not gonna enjoy it. And I think the beautiful thing about our is that it's super creative, and it's for me, I love working every day and taking that as something that I want to do instead of something that I have to do. It's what makes me happy, actually.
I think again for spatial design, I think it's, by the way, really cool how Apple uses this term and comes up with something new that is already known, but they managed somehow to brand it under their own name and call it spatial design. And now people coming up all with those beautiful terms as spatial designer and spatial experience designer and all those things. I think in general, we will have a bright future for real-time 3D, and that might as well get really interesting on many ways. I think to perhaps calm everyone down, and in some sense, what I think, with most of the things that we see popping up, as always, when something new appears, it will be very slow. Well, it will take a lot of time for the fundamentals to become mainstream, and there will only be a few big players who walk them way through the industries, which means that I think only some integral parts will be important. And as we focus on those, we can also ignore to a large part what is happening around us. So don't become scared by what's happening and what all the tools that pop up. I think it will take a lot of time for the good ones to develop. And I think that is also the reason why Apple took so much time until they released the product. So I bet they at least worked perhaps 5, 6, 7 years on it until they decided to release that Vision Pro, which I think its future is still pretty uncertain. They now cleared the path for people to start on their development for their product, to come up with ideas until the launch of it begins. And it opens a complete new playground for it up. I think some things will remain the same. Also on the design side, talking about UI and spatial UI, from what I've seen, in its fundamentals, the design itself and the UI will largely remain the same and just be put into space. The frames might change, and the way we coordinate and structure those elements, they might change in how we use them. But UI in itself will fundamentally stay the same. I think what is interesting is now how will people make use of those technologies of eye tracking, of interacting with eyes. How would it be if one could enter a co-working space with a Vision Pro? So you not only see something in 3D, but other people who use that Vision Pro in the same space with you would be able to see the same things. So you would be able to see what other people are selecting in space. Or perhaps you could even AR project a board game on a table, and another person with a Vision Pro would be able to play chess with you, or even further enhanced games. Those are the little things that I think will make this experience interesting, but yet not mainstream. But now the door is open for people to explore and develop those interesting technologies. That's for sure. Another interesting thing is how websites will change on the web and how they will be developing towards those industries. For now, I think for the Vision Pro, I'm not really sure if websites itself are the right way and if that will be a huge topic to browse and experience on the Vision Pro. I might even think that it will be the apps and little softwares that they develop for this software to be interesting, but they will probably be exclusive to a large degree to work on the Vision Pro. For the experiences that largely we are developing right now, they will become more mainstream, and the platforms for them will obviously be desktop and mobile for sure.
I mean, I love that we actually touched on sort of, I guess, this fear or the sentiment that, you know, things are new and moving so quickly. And I'm sort of understanding that we're encouraging early adoption at some point, but also, like, at the same time, the adoption or the tools that come out at the early stages might not necessarily be the best. But I guess I'm curious, because Julius, you already started to talk about sort of where these technologies will be applied. Which brands or organizations do you believe will be the early adopters of 3D experiences or interactions, especially in the context of mixed reality as well? And I guess, since I believe Anais was touching on this, but how should brands first introduce sort of these experiences to their audience, considering that they are indeed quite, not at the moment so accessible, but yeah, I'll open the floor to y'all again.
I would say that I've been working with the clients on the industry, and like in Brazil and outside Brazil, and I see this repetitive pattern, like companies that have money, usually for launch new products, usually are the first to adopt this kind of new technology. And for example, when you look for real estate business, like the real estate market, they almost have to. They have a virtual thing. Nobody can visit before they actually build the thing. And for them would be a game changer, being able to drop the client in a sofa on their virtual space without having to build anything, because they like spend lots of money to build the decoration room for you to try to experiment how the experience of living in this space will be. And it will not be the virtual one, will be the real one. So the amount of money they put on this for sure will be over the years migrated to this kind of technology. They have been doing this already, but in a very different way. So now with this kind of technology, they can do it even better. And another market like that is usually, it is the promotion, like the launch products, the configurators. They usually also have money because they are in this field of research and development, and they are usually the first adopters of this kind of new technology. So yeah, looking from the client point of view, like from our clients that hire us to create technology, usually they are the first adopters in my experience.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I think environment, like spaces, it's gonna be like the one of the main use. So you said like real estate, construction event. Like imagine you can plan your wedding, like see how the room is going to be, like where you're going to be the balloon and stuff like that. Like all the spaces that you can be in without moving yourself from your sofa. I think it's going to be the use that it's amazing. And I think you talked also about brands that have money. I think fashion is going to be an industry where it's going to be used a lot. Every luxury brand, because you really have this sense of high value, being able to see the product up close with a lot of details, being able to turn around. So yeah, fashion, environment, and product, like it doesn't have to be brand, it doesn't have to be clothes, but yeah, every time of product. And I think even like high-tech technology or like technical stuff that you really have to see the stuff in front of you. It's going to be a lot of use. But I think for me, the main one is going to be spaces, like being able to move into a space without having to move out of your living room.
I think also the retail business is looking forward to being able to like fit something on your screen. It's still not there. It's still a bit, it's bunky a bit, but still they're trying to, they're looking for the ways so you can like look in the mirror and see how it fits you. And there's also one thing that it's not quite an appropriate thing, but this kind of business also always has money, and they've been trying to do this VR and mixed reality for a lot of time, but it's not quite, it's a video service which serve not an appropriate kind of videos, but they do invest a lot of money into developing the VR and mixed reality indeed, because there are a number of startups actually that trying to serve like the real video so you can be, so they have the presence there. Yeah. I'm talking about porn. Yeah. I don't know why I didn't say that. Okay.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, I would say also car industry, like it is another can benefit from it, because the fact that you can sit and visualize the car from outside and from inside, like it is tremendous realistic. And I think they were trying to avoid this stuff because it looks like a game. But with new technologies like Unreal Engine, and they will probably migrate to the web or apps in this kind of application and hardware sometime, this will be more realistic. And then they can finally drop the client to see the details that sometimes in the past we had to avoid. And then for them, it is they don't like it. They don't want to present their brands and their cars like in a game-ish like way. They want to present in a very realistic way. So yeah, with this technology evolving, this will enable them, because they also have lots of money when they launch a new car.
I think it's interesting that we also brought up sort of that there is a certain cost, I think, to making these changes and introducing 3D interactive experiences to brands and organizations. So I just want to ask a quick follow-up question on this, but is there a way that we can justify sort of this cost, right? Or at least make 3D experiences more accessible to brands and organizations?
I would say the cost is dropping, like when we have more tools to work that makes our life easier. So when we can do stuff in a quicker way, this will be cheaper for the final, like our client. And I think this will be happening naturally, I would say. But yeah, one thing that we can actually do to reduce cost is to, like what Sofia mentioned about knowing your technology, knowing the things that you can do, because you are not attached to one thing. Like you have so many options and your ideas, and this is something that I've been doing a lot, like this consultancy about how designers can integrate 3D on their on their creative process, because I see this as a problem in this industry right now. Like you have those beautiful minds creating stuff and communication, like about the launches, but they don't have technical knowledge of what is possible. So usually they need reference and they need guidance. Like I can use this post-processing, but I cannot do this other stuff together. I can have a very detailed model, but I don't have reflection. So how can I do? No, let's render as an image. Like, you have options. You need to know and research. So this happening will also decrease the prices for the client. And this will be more and more used. And for sure, Sofia, please add.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that you couldn't have said it better, Anderson. And I think that the more tech-savvy friends of this panel can answer this question. I'm just going to go back a little bit to the previous question because I think it's really important to understand the importance of being an early adopter, either if you are a professional in the space or if you are a brand or if you are an organization like Meta and Apple. Being an early adopter means that you have the advantage of trying and failing and then coming back and improving your service, improving your product, and continuously improving. Because yes, we're not there yet in this new age of the web, but we're going to get there. And the more prepared you are, the more, these kind of companies and organizations, they're going to be the king of the castle. Well, this thing becomes like mainstream. From my perspective, because I always have branding on my mind, like it's in my DNA, I think that the brands, I'm not going to put it in an industry kind of context, but I think that the brands that have innovation as their core value, they are the ones that are going to invest. And of course, they have the money. And I always bring as an example Nike. Nike, I mean, this is like their core message, and they have been exploring technologies like AR and AR glasses and stuff like for years now. And as soon as the EM award came along, like they jumped in and they explored different platforms, different practices, different technologies right ahead. They even have this robot installation in their showcase store in London. So they're bringing in everything like physical, digital, robotics, like everything in. And I think they're going to be, of course, one of the brands that are the innovators that they are kind of setting the pace for everyone else. Just wanted to focus on that. I'm sorry if I'm deranging the discussion a lot, but I'm looking forward to hearing from the other tech-savvy people on how we can bring the costs down.
No worries about derailing the conversation. Absolutely not derailed. And feel free, I mean, continue. I'm interested to hear this as well.
I think again with the costs coming down, perhaps we can counter it in another direction. If we make sure that those experiences come more valuable, then people and companies in the first place might be more interested to pay more money for it. I think as we price them right now, certainly most of the companies out there would have definitely the resources to pay for a project in any range there. So I think one can divide them into medium, small, and large quality and size. And they have certainly all the money to finance it. Right now, it is not an attractive thing, and it's not mainstream adopted, not at all. So the tools and those improvements there, which we have already seen for the web with no-code tools, that's a huge thing that evolved. Also with AI, and AI will have a huge impact also in this space and how fast forward we will be able to develop here, together with more no-code tools. That will have a huge impact on the technological side to bring down costs. But on the other side, we also want to charge not only on an hourly basis or on the quality, everything. I think there should be an idea, a fundamental idea to charge for value-based pricing and make sure that the experiences we deliver here have a huge value, add a huge value to those brands, which they certainly do. I think Nike explores those things in the first place because they have a great vision. And also it is everything about branding with their products. And every brand that has its core in its branding, what makes the product so valuable to them, is worthwhile exploring such technologies.
Thanks for adding on
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything that was said. I think for now it's expensive because it's taking a lot of time, and we also needed like a specific people that know specific stuff, and of course that costs more. But I think with the advancement of technology, we're going to be able to work faster, and time is money. At least as a freelancer, I'm paying by hours. So if I'm working more hours, it's going to be more expensive for the client. And also I agree with the cost of like that we shouldn't try to make it as cheap as possible, because it's something that has a lot of benefits to the client at the end. So I think also paying for the quality of work, make it more accessible, but it shouldn't be something that we have to make cheap to make it cheap. Thinking and the taste and everything, and I think we should also be paid for the quality of our work.
Nice, totally. Like I totally agree with you. And another thing that I want to add, like despite the tools being used to make our lives easier as creators, the creative behind the things is the most valuable thing, I would say. So the thinking process behind how you can tell this story in a 3D way, it is the unique part of our journeys here. Like we try to invent new stuff. So we are not presenting just a page. We are telling a story using the 3D. And we were attached to the browser, but now that we can be released, our creative process is even more like difficult and harder. So despite having tools to deliver this message, creating the message and creating the storytelling, it is the unique part of our lives as creators. And I think this will not change over time. This will be like more and more complex, I would say.
And I would just add that another reason for my panic attacks as well, but another reason for dropping the prices is that like some of us only started doing this for the past couple of years, and there's a lot of people that are just starting to do it right now. And this whole community of special designers or spatial developers is just increasing in time. So right now, and this means that, well, obviously there are more developers to do these kind of jobs, and this means cheaper prices for the clients in the end to do this. And it means that we all need to learn every day, and this is why I have panic attacks. Yeah, right.
Thank you so much, everyone. Considering the time, I might have to make that our last question, but I do want to thank everyone for, this amazing discussion. I feel really bad having to cut it off here, but that just means actually that it would be a great time to move into our Q&A session. So for those who have questions, please feel free to send them in the chat and we'll try our best to get to them. So I think we can first start with, let's see, I believe we have a question right here. Have you imagined that future websites will be interactive in AR/VR, not just simple scroll or hover effects? Curious to know what some creative scenes you can think of right now.
Absolutely. There is this one website. I'm just going to search for it and I'm going to put it in the chat, that was created in collaboration with Meta. It was a virtual gallery. I don't remember the name. And you can experience the same exact virtual gallery in the Quest. I came by it by luck, and I was like, oh my God, like this is going from the screen into VR. Like this is it. I'm going to pass the mic to someone else and I'm going to search for the link.
Feel free to do that.
Like I mentioned, and I think like using audio will be like a huge step, even for those who are not using Apple Vision. Like last week, we just got a new thing on React 3 Fiber that we can actually use our face to focus. So it is not our eye tracking yet, but I would say this is about to happen. and then we can focus with faces. And then again, I'm trying to be released of mouse and keyboard, at least for the final user. Like for us creators, I think we will be attached to them for quite some time because we need to code. But yeah, coding with voice and using voice, I would say it is the future of interaction, eye and voices. And I remember that movie with Joaquin Phoenix, Her, and I think that is the closest future we can imagine, like using voice, not to talk to a robot, but imagine Chat GPT answering a natural voice to your commands. You don't need a mouse and keyboard anymore. You can be whatever you want, and then you can navigate to the web without even seeing it. Because sometimes we don't need to see. I just need the answer. Where is that location? If someone like says to me on my ear, I can follow that without seeing a screen. And I would say, yeah, this is the future of interaction for me.
Awesome. Thank you all. We have another question as well. And this is kind of interesting because I think they're asking, will 3D have inherently a better experience, like viewing experience or just experience in general in environments like the metaverse, like in virtual environments, rather, will it surpass how we interact with those in the real world? Feel free to correct me if I'm interpreting this question wrong, by the way.
I don't believe that we should think of these technologies and these virtual spaces as a replacement. No way. Nothing can replace the real life experience. We should see them and approach them as an extension, as an enhancement of real reality. And we should see it as, especially for virtual 3D places, as an opportunity to open up for brands to open up to new audiences that they would have never imagined they could reach because there are no geographical boundaries. And for us creatives, as opening up to new markets. So we're talking about a globalization effect that this virtual 3D reality can bring. But by no means, I wouldn't think about it as replacement. No way. We all love real life experiences, and what happened with COVID just made us remember how invaluable and irreplaceable they are. But we should see that as an enhancement and as an augmentation, as an extension.
Totally agree, and I think it also can also be something like seeing, like if you go to the movie and you see if you go to the theater and you see a movie, you're not going to be like, okay, this is real life. And I think it's going to be the same thing. It's still already the same thing with websites. You can enter a world like with VR, and you can see a world around you, and you can interact with people, but you know that it's not real life, but it's even better because it's super creative. You can create stuff that it's not happening in real life. You can like go against gravity. You can like have an experience that it's not doable in real life. And I think that's the amazing thing about that. And for creators, it's amazing because you don't have real life limitation, and that's great. But I think it shouldn't compete. I think it's just a time that you put the VR and then you take it up and whoo, real life.
I could imagine this in the further future to be a steady, all-around enhancement to our realities, and one could call that real. So it's not real life, of course, but it's a real enhancement, I'd say. So if there is a future where those AR glasses might become so tiny that you can wear them like normal glasses and you can walk around them, and what you see in 3D and what is projected on your reality, others would be able to see as well. I think then one could perceive that as a new form of reality, an enhanced reality, and then becomes pretty real. And further down the road with virtual reality, I think if technology emerges further in that space and we get to see that we can adopt more senses. Right now the visual sense is the most important one, and we also have managed the auditory one. But what about touch and smell and those other things? And we would be able to let people freely move in space, and we could even develop technologies that would allow them to walk around, to move, even jump, or other things then those things would at least feel pretty real to me with even enhanced graphics. It's by no mean real, but it will become close, and with that more interesting as well.
It's so great that we're touching sort of on the importance of shared context here, because there's actually a question about the opportunities for improving productivity with using VR experience, or probably not, let's not limit ourselves here, but yeah, do you think the experience of working in VR can improve productivity? From Giuseppe.
I can totally agree. I would say the problem today is like the amount of hours we expend on the monitor itself. But the one thing that COVID changed is the like inability of being close to my friends and the people that I work with. Like I've been working only remote for 3 years now because we dropped the office, and then we loved these ideas of working from home. But I would love to talk to my partner like next to me and say like, what are exchange ideas. Like you need to set up a call and then you need to talk to them. You can do, but it's not natural as the human interactions are. So this VR space, like getting more like used by companies, would enable that. But in the other hand, the technology also needs to evolve, because putting that thing on your face like for 12 hours, it is also not recommended by doctors, in fact.
Yeah.
No, I will comment on what Anderson said, because it was really mind-blowing the first time that I collaborated in VR when I was working in Dubai. And one colleague, we had to make this video in virtual reality, so we had to shoot it in virtual reality. And I was there with a colleague from the UK and a colleague from Ukraine. And we were using this platform called Glue. Again, I'm not being paid, but I love this platform. It's a collaborative platform. They are from Helsinki, and their environments have this Nordic kind of look and feel. I love it. And that was the first time using it, and it was mind-blowing. Like from calls all day to be the three of us in this space. It was so funny. It was so enjoyable. I can describe it. It was literally like we were together, and we spent a week in there. And one of the best experiences I ever had, and ever since I'm working remote for like 10 years now, every new team I join, I'm like, let's go in Glue, let's go in Glue. People are not very ready about it. They're not, but once they get there, anyone, if you want a tour, I will be happy to give you one. I love the platform. But it really just takes remote working into another level. It's like you really connect with people in virtual reality, and you do that in a very fun and immersive and enjoyable way.
And I think for productivity, the fact that you are like in a bubble can really help. Because for now, like I see my screen, but I see the sofa just behind. I see like there's a fridge there, and I think it can be really distracted to have like if you're home and you have like all the space, and maybe you see people working on the street and stuff like that. If you are really immersed in your own bubble, I think there is no visual distraction, and even like no audio distraction if you have like the headset and stuff like that. And if you interactive with your hand, with your eye, I think it can be really immersive in a way of working. And I think that can be really, really a deep work in terms of focusing for productivity.
Awesome. I actually just wanted to highlight, and this is so funny, that Yuri, you also posted a question in the chat. But from Yuri, what was the most weird XR 3D metaverse experience that you worked on? Not mutually exclusive. Feel free to expand.
I would say the one that Sofia described, like it is like the most exciting one, I would say, like the being able to work actually on the virtual space and not only use as a client or as a user, but to create stuff. it is like I had this experience also, and it is great, like working in a 3D environment to create a 3D environment. This is kind of mind blowing, but yeah, it's exceptional. But it is the closest thing that I've experienced from Matrix. Like over than that, I would dope myself in a chair and will be there forever.
I
And
mean,
Yuri, because you asked that, do you have any experience? Because I know you have doing this for quite some time with your studio. So I am interested if you have one experience.
I don't actually. All of them seemed so normal. That's why I decided to ask. Maybe someone had something weird to work on, you know. I mean, even porn that I mentioned is not so weird, right? It's just, I mean, it's general stuff. So yeah, that's why I asked. Maybe someone had something funny. That's why. But this actually counts. Yeah, this inception thing is exactly what I was asking for.
absolutely. I mean, I think we definitely touched this on this earlier in the discussion too, about how people who consume the experiences might also use the same tools to build them. Anyway, I'm going to, in consideration of time, I'm going to address one more question. And I think this one is just a great way to end off, because from OP Lifestyle, how and where can I find inspiration for 3D web? Any recommendations?
Well, I would say lots of.
Yeah.
So just
yeah.
Please share.
No, you started. Go ahead.
No, I would say like the one thing that usually I research a lot, of course, is Award's website. Like I would say is a reference for a lot of the industry people, because we are inspiring ourselves from other guys inspiring themselves. So it is very unique. And also gaming, like a lot of things that I do on the web today come from my time from video games, and I play a lot yet. So yeah, games, and like I use games and Award's website. Actually, Julius just compiled a post on the blog on our Immersive Studios website, and he like listed a 10 websites that you can use to inspire yourself. Like 3JS homepage is one of them, which is actually very good for inspiring us. So yeah, those three to mention. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, people.
Yeah, for me it's the same. I think Awards is the first place I'm gonna go to see what's new in the industry in terms of 3D websites. Video games, definitely there is a lot of advancement, and I think in terms of optimization and also style and reality style, also it's really impressive. I think they are going way further than what we can do in web. So it's really nice to see how far they can go and how far we can go, and take inspiration on that. And if it's just about like being inspired in general, I think real life is the best place because there is real 3D in real life and real interaction. And I think I really like to have like a notebook or taking picture of everything that inspired me, and I keep it on the side. And I also like to be inspired by art, like going to museums, seeing movies, and those kind of stuff. I love to keep reference on everything. So I think it's important as a creative to do not just be inspired in the field that you're working in. So if you're a web designer, don't just look at web. You have to be like, you have to look at fashion, you have to look at art, you have to look at cars, you have to look at everything that it's like involving and it's inspiring, that it's growing, because it's like inspiration is everywhere. And I think we should take inspiration from everywhere, so we just don't copy paste.
Yeah, I would just add on that one and continue on the technical side. If you just follow right now, for example, 3JS account, basically 3JS is kind of a standard in 3D. And if you see all the ways that 3JS is being used. You basically see how the 3D is being developed right now on the web, and not only on the web. And I would also add on the arts and real life, and we can actually see right now in this, within this 1 hour, how you could be inspired to use something in 3D or VR, because Sofia mentioned that we had a real life problem, like people just don't see each other next to them, right, in the real life, because the COVID, because the world became more global, and you work with the people from different countries, and this is the problem. And here's the solution, this glue, right? It just solves this for you. You just have the person next to you. And this is where the inspiration came from. It's just the real life problem of people missing people and real life interactions. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add. And the game industry, of course, the video games.
Amazing. I mean, I hope maybe in the future, Dora Expo will be hosted in a virtual reality, mixed reality space, and we can see each other as more than squares in a Zoom meeting, rectangles. And actually, on that note, we actually posted in the chat that you can actually, one other great resource for getting inspiration and learning is actually to follow our lovely panelists, our speakers. Shameless plug here, but definitely feel free to check out. I mean, we have so many people active and sharing great insights on their platforms. So, oh, I see, Sofia. I just saw your message. Let me quickly put that in the chat. But I just want to say thank you to all of our speakers again, for all of you audience for attending this Dora Expo event. And we do hope to see everyone else at the upcoming panels. Very spicy topics coming up. More about AI. We'll be talking about the future direction of no-code products as well. And actually, we have a panel coming up right after this. So feel free to tune into that. We'll be talking about elevating brands with novel interactions. So don't forget to sign up via the QR code, which we're putting up now, or follow our socials for more Expo updates. So with that, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
See you.